Hi everyone. We are in the middle of January already, and I have to tell you, it has been intense. So, I want to start this out by giving you a frame of reference for what's been going on with myself and a number of people that I know, many of them clients, just in this new year. And again, as you know, I see the big picture. I put the story together, I put pattern recognition together. It shows up a little differently in each person, but it's part of a theme that's going on. And it's happening in early January. So you may relate to this. And the reason I'm telling you this too, and it relates to the video I'm going to share with you, is, I want you to know you're not alone if you're experiencing these things. Because, like I've said before, we all don't really have that many people to talk to about this. But so what we're going to be talking about here is showing up a little bit differently in almost every person. I'm not saying it's happening all now. It is on a continuum. But what this is a full-on clearing of our stuff. Now you can say, well, yeah, I've been going through that. I realize that. But there have been some very, very big events happening where people are, and Ron's going to be our video today. It was his last session with me, and he is sharing his story of what I personally would call, he might not, a healing crisis. Okay, a very significant, dramatic healing journey. Now he channels his guide, Stuart. So then he had a whole long conversation about this, and I think it's fascinating. So we're sharing that with you today. So you can also have some frame of reference for your own journey and how some of this might help you understand what's going on. So I'm going to backtrack a bit to where I started, which is right now, well, how do I explain this? Right now we are purging and clearing things that we don't even understand. A lot of people, as an example, are feeling flu-like, not good, but they know it's not just flu, it's something different. It feels metaphysical, whatever you want to call it. It's energetic, it's something different. But things are happening in their bodies, okay? It's showing in the bodies. It's clearing out through the bodies, okay? And what I have learned, and this is much more detailed than what I'm going to share with you, but what I have learned, because I'm just summarizing so you understand this, is that, yeah, we can have lower frequencies, lower energies, nasty stuff want to attach to us, not good things because we're growing in light and all of that. But what's happening now is so much of this is our stuff that we can't carry forward because we are stepping up and we can't carry that with us. But half the time we don't even know what the stuff is that we're clearing through, however horrible we feel or whatever kind of physical thing we have happening. So a lot of people are having physical ramifications from clearing their own stuff from past lives, which, we don't know if that's we can't identify it. It's not coming as a story to you necessarily, but it's coming from past lives. It's coming from this incarnation, and it's coming in spades, okay? Just these first couple weeks of January. So I have to tell you this because this is how it worked out for me. No wonder we were supposed to kind of take some time in December to remember that. December was take time for yourself, take some time off, rebalance your life. I think we're headed right now into at least this month with massive just shedding. Oh, you know what I just thought of? This makes sense. Okay, this makes sense because the shedding of the skin, the snake, I was just going to say the shedding of the skin of the snake, well, that changes in February to the fiery horse. That's the Chinese New Year. Okay? So no wonder we're getting rid of a lot of stuff from our own journey that we cannot carry forward. So what happened to me, I have been through the mill the last week. I kind of consider it a healing crisis. I don't go into the detail, but it was all very physical for me. That started actually in December, and then it culminated last weekend. And then I have felt like I've had the flu since, but I don't have the flu. It's this weird feeling of I'm fine for a little bit, but then I'm not, and then I'm really down and out, and it's come over the 4 days. But on the full moon, which was I think January 3rd, I usually always recognize the full moon by like going outside and just kind of looking at it and saying something. Well, this time I was really intentional. I mean, more so than I normally am. And this just shows you, I mean, I've realized the power of our thoughts and our words and our intentions. They're becoming more and more real, is what I'll say. Anyway, I stood out there and just lifted my arms up and I said, please remove anything from me. And I didn't say it like this, but it was something similar to this. Take anything from me that is holding me back from being my highest potential in this lifetime. Remove it now. And I'm telling you, it came with a bang. And I didn't connect it at all because I was getting pieces of the story. And all of a sudden I'm noticing, oh my God, all this stuff is lining up with other people's journey. Oh my gosh, now I'm understanding my journey. I was having some energy healings done. I got information on both of those, and then I started putting pieces together, and I realized this is what's happening now in the collective now. Maybe not all of us at this time, because remember, it is a continuum. But I would bet you, and I would love for you to share your story, and you're going to get Ron's story here in a second, which has just happened. Um, I would love for you to share if you have been going through anything yourself of this nature, where you are physically being kind of hammered, may not understand it, you know it feels different, you may understand it too, but they're showing this to me right now as I'm talking. Like we are literally just we're just spitting out things that don't serve us because we are going to accelerate in a huge way this year, individually and collectively. But those of us who are light workers, we've got to get rid of it. We can't carry that weight, is what they keep saying. We can't be weighted down any longer because we have to fly. Okay? They keep showing the fiery horse as flying. I don't know if that is a thing or not, but they just obviously have shown that to me. That's interesting that I just said that as well. Anyway, so I want you to know that if you're struggling right now physically, even maybe emotionally too, I am noticing it's much more physical, but you may get the emotional part of that as well. The body is wanting to release, is what I keep getting. Just know that that's what's happening. That's normal. All right. So I'm going to send you over to the conversation that I had with Ron. It was just this last week. And he shares some very, very personal information, which leads to a really incredible conversation with his guide, Stuart, and some real understanding around what was going on for him, which may also lead you to some understanding around how you're going through your own journey too. So with that, I'm going to send you over to the conversation and I'll wrap up with you briefly in the end. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you been this last month?
So I got to tell you what happened.
Yeah, please.
I've been chomping at the bit to tell you this because at first I didn't know what was going on. So,
And don't mind me. I have a neck issue going on, so I'm going to
oh,
I got to, like right now, it's kind of killing me. So I'm just doing,
yep, no worries.
okay, so go ahead.
So after our last call, I don't know, it was a couple days after our last call.
Mhm.
So leading up to that call, I could feel energy. I'll just call it energy.
Mhm.
And it was building in my body. And I would sit, I'd do my breathing. I would sit in the bathtub and meditate, but it was there and it was present. It's building and it's building and it's building, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know what day it was, whatever. I was driving down to Walmart or something. Carolyn, I swear to God, I thought I was having a heart attack.
Oh.
This thing,
Oh.
it literally erupted into my chest, right here. And it hurt so freaking bad. And
So
I was like,
your heart chakra opening?
I don't know yet,
Okay, go
but
ahead.
I'm sitting there and I thought I was having a heart. I mean, I
Yeah, I'll bet.
literally thought I got tears coming down my face, but it's not because I'm not emotional or anything. It's just my body trying to respond to this thing, right? And all I could think was, I've got to get the car pulled over so I don't kill anybody before I die. Because I literally thought I was going home. I, it was so freaking painful.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, somewhere in that little nanosecond, there was this just knowing, right? Breathe. Just breathe this out. So I got over to the side of the road and I'm sitting there and I'm doing a square box breathing routine, and I'm trying to get and this thing is just, and I'm sitting there, and I just was like, holy cow, I'm going home, and I'm breathing, and I could feel some of the energy was like going out in my breath. I literally could feel it going out.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff. It's like it's hooked into me like with a fish hook. It's got the little barbs in it. And I'm sitting, I sat there for probably 20 minutes, just breathing and just, but I pulled over, I closed my eyes, I went into this meditative state, and I just sat there and I did square box breathing, and I'm just sitting there. Well, finally the pain subsided enough where I could hear, literally, I could hear, let it go. And I'm like, I was just like, okay, I'm letting, I literally said it out loud, like, okay, I'm letting this go. I don't know what the heck I was letting go, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting there and I'm breathing and the tears on my face, right? I don't think they were tears, like, because they were burning. I
Yeah.
mean, it was literally burning, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting and I'm breathing and then like
Oh.
you gotta understand that like right in front of me is the guy that raised me. And he's going away like this, right?
Oh.
And I'm sitting there, and as he was going out, all I could say was, I said his name, and I said, "You were one hell of a bastard."
Uh-huh.
And he goes off, right? And I start catching my breath now, and I'm like, okay. And the pain, the acute pain goes away, but now my body is just hurting,
Yep.
right? And I was like, okay, so I
Ooh,
can
I'm feeling, I'll just give you what I'm getting as you're talking,
Yeah,
as I connect you. I'm feeling really emotional like right now.
yeah,
And
no,
there's a lot of energy in this conversation because I'm moving back and forth and I do that when I have a lot of energy. But there's a
yeah.
lot of emotion, like
Oh yeah. Well,
like,
see, I wasn't having emotion at the moment,
well,
right?
but
I
I think
was.
it's coming out of you. I think it was coming out
Oh
of you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's.
So go ahead.
But I was like, so I'm driving home now, and I'm like, what the hell was like? What was that, right? And I go home, and there's nothing. I get home, right? So I do have to back up a little bit. So as he's leaving, and that let it go thing. And I said, whatever authority is president, well, that's a Freudian slip. But whatever authority is present, I do not consent. You have no power, no authority, no dominion. I release you into the ether and back to the potential from which you came,
Ooh.
right? And that was it. And I drove home, and my chest was just, it was like it was on fire. Like I just
Yeah.
ran. If you ever ran track before or anything, and you
Yep.
get that burning in
Yep.
your chest, that's what it's feeling like, right?
Yep.
So I went to sleep, went through the rest of my day, and I go to sleep. Well, I was sitting in the bathtub first, right? And I'm letting all of this kind of bleed off. And I'm just meditating, and nothing's there. Nothing's happening, right? And I sort of was I was like, I don't know what happened today, and I'm not sure I want to know, right? And I just sat there. When I woke up in the morning, my body was
Oh.
literally, it felt like I had been beat up, mugged, ran over by a car, kicked into the mud, and then rolled off a bank into the river. I mean, it hurt. Every little thing hurt. And I was like, holy cow, like what was this, right? Well, I went through that day, and then I had this massive, like my whole bowel just evacuated out of my
Yeah,
body.
that makes sense. Yeah.
And I was like, and even that hurt. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know what was going out, but wherever it was at, it'd been stuck in there a long time, I guess, because I
Oh,
was like,
yes.
oh, everything was hurting. Well, then I had a bath that night. And, my man shows up and he says, Stuart shows up and he says, "Are you okay?" Just like that. Just, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." He says, "Okay, we'll talk about it in the morning." And I was like, "Okay, we'll talk about it in the morning then." And, and you're sitting there and you're kind of you're in that state where you can like feel the whole world kind of
Oh
just
yeah.
passing you by and you're observing
Yes.
everything. And then in my, I've got this picture in my mind. I mean, so vivid, so like visceral, right? And there's this thing that you do in mechanics, let's just say mechanics, right?
Mhm.
Where you take a torch and you heat up a hole, and then there's a ring that goes into that hole, right? A valve seat,
Mhm.
right? But you have to have a press to push it down with extreme force. So you use the torch to heat up the hole, and then the hole will expand like this, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then you drop the ring in, and depending on what kind of fit they put on it, you might have to heat the hole up just to be able to press the ring in.
Okay.
And then as the metal cools, right, it contracts again,
Contracts.
and you're
Yeah.
squeezing
Yeah.
that ring in. It's almost like it's fused, right?
Uh-huh.
And I've got that picture. And I can feel the heat from the torch. I can feel the sweat on the guy's face. I can feel the energy that you're putting into and I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
And then just as quick, the picture flips. Now the guy's got the torch. He's heating up the metal glowing red, but he's got a hammer and a chisel and he's knocking the valve seat out. That's how you would do that, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, cool. That's all there is. I that's all there was. So I woke up about I don't know 5:30 in the morning. This is where a lot of this happens nowadays. I wake up about 5:30 in the morning. I'm sitting down here. I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm just waiting for Stuart, right? Because it always happens.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting here and I'm watching the sun. I'm watching the orange start to caress the horizon. But last summer, I put all of these wind chimes out in the front yard. So I
Oh,
made like a wind chime garden type
oh,
thing.
that's cool.
And that morning, for whatever reason, the wind was moving, right? So I'm sitting here and I can hear the chimes going, and I'm watching the sunrise, and the birds are chirping or whatever because it was like 51 degrees that morning or something, whatever it was. And I'm just like totally chill. I'm just like, okay, this is cool.
Mhm.
Stuart shows up, metaphorically speaking. He says, "Hey, you ready to talk about it?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's talk." And he goes, "So what did you see?" And I knew he was talking about the vision. And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, saw somebody pressing in this valve seat, and I saw somebody taking it out. So we call that unseating." Unseating. And he goes, "Yep, yeah, that's right." And I was like, "Okay." And I said, "But what I'm putting together is this guy that raised me, him leaving,
Yeah.
and the unseating, right?
Mhm.
So what I'm what I'm thinking, so this gentleman that I'm talking about, he's been dead for a while now.
Mhm.
Um, so I said, Stuart, that was a tulpa. That's an energetic belief that took up residence in me
Yep.
that carried what I perceived or his authority
Sure.
and was seated. And I'm going to say this, I hate to use biblical stuff, I just don't have any other
Yeah, but
context.
it happens.
Seated on the throne of my heart,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
And
so
you didn't
Stuart's,
even really know it. You didn't realize
no,
it.
no, that's it. Yeah.
That's
So
the
Stuart's
weird
like,
part.
Stuart's like, yep, that's right. And I said, so, but then I see the press pressing down on the valve seat, right? Which buried my spark, if you will, that spark of divinity, buried it underneath of it. Stuart hasn't gotten my face in a long, long time, but this is one time he was like, no, that is not what happened. And I was like, and you got to understand the way he said it. It wasn't like he was mean or anything, but I could pick
Mm-mm.
up the
But it
tone in
was
his
firm.
voice that it
Firm.
was like, you don't want to go down that road.
Hmm.
What I mean? And I was like, oh, okay, what was it then? And he said, you don't understand. He says, why are you, this is what he literally says to me, why are you giving your power away again? And I was like, what? Wait a minute. I'm contextualizing this.
Right.
And he said, who are you? I said, well, I am. And he goes, okay, so who can bury I am?
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And he says, you're divine and sovereign.
Uh-huh.
He said, so let's look at what you just said. If you say he buried you, you've given him the power to do it again.
Oh.
Oh, and I was like, oh. And he goes, so why do you even believe that you were a victim?
Oh. That's good.
And I was like, uh, well, I mean, by definition, I was
Right.
one.
Right.
And he goes, and you guys just I wish I could conceptualize how this is going because he's being very stern.
Uh-huh. I get,
Very,
oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
you know, he's being very, very,
Like
you
firm.
need to get this, son. You know what I'm saying? Like one of those things like your dad's talking to you, not like he's mad at you,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to get this because
Mm-hmm.
this is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I can flow with this, right? And he's like, so I want you to think, what did you do? And I don't know why, but I was without words. I was like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. And he goes, oh no, you did do something. And then he said this word and he got me. Why are you ashamed of what you did? And I was like, hold on, Stuart. What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, dude? I survived. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And this anger welled up inside of me, and I was getting mad. And I was like, dude, I don't know who the hell you think you're talking to, but and and then he said, why are you mad then? And I was like, and immediately just like that took the wind out of my sail. And I was like, wait a minute, dude, you messing with me? What are we doing here? And he goes, no, I need you to understand who you are. And I said, okay, I'm game. Let's talk about it. He goes, okay, so you survived. What does that make you? Oh,
Right.
see, he went down another road and he
Uh-huh.
stepped on something else. And I was like, well, I mean, I've lived for a long time now, Stu, and I'm thinking I wish I would have done something different.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, so what could you have done? You were 8 years old. What could you have done? I said, well, I could have got a baseball bat, I could have. And he goes, and what would have that done? And it was strange because as he keeps asking me these questions, right? Thoughts are coming back into my mind when I was 8 years old. The very thought pattern is coming in my brain, and I'm going, well, I knew then I didn't want to go into the child welfare system. I had three sisters, and there was no way they were going to take us and break us up. And all of these things are packing up, right? He goes, okay, so what are those thoughts? And I was like, well, at the time, those were survival thoughts. And he said, no, those were noble thoughts.
It's the word you used, isn't it? To
You
define.
know, yeah, so I was like, no, Stuart, they were survival thoughts. And he goes, who are you thinking about? Oh, well, I was thinking about my sisters. I was thinking about myself. I didn't want to see the abuse that was happening in that relationship, and let's just leave it like that. I didn't want to see that imposed onto my sisters or me at that time, and my sisters are younger than me. And he goes, right, noble thoughts. Why are you not accepting the word noble?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that for a minute. And I don't even remember what I said. Like I give this spiel, right?
This is so deep.
And he says, Ron, the word you're looking for is coward. And I was like, okay, I hadn't thought about it like that, but sure, yeah, I feel like I was a coward.
Mhm.
He goes, did you feel like that then? And again, it's just like this thing comes up and I'm remembering thoughts, feelings, expressions, and I was very, very deterministic. You were not going to do this to me or my sisters.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, so when did it turn into cowardice? That's the adult
Ha ha.
talking to the little boy.
Oh, like why didn't you do more? Kind of thing.
Right. Yes. And I'm going, and then he says, so why are you holding that little boy in judgment? And I was like, damn,
Oh
Stuart,
my God.
slow down, brother. You're killing me here. Hold on. And he goes, okay. He says, we're good. He says, I want you to see. So this is why when you say that vision of seating the valve was burying the
Mhm.
spark, you didn't, he says, you did what anyone would do. You withdrew the spark into yourself to protect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just let that hit you, right? And I'm going, okay. And he says, so is that not noble?
Oh my
And
God.
I'm
This is
like,
so deep. Wow.
damn, Stuart, hold on. Now I got tears flowing down my face like I'm
Yeah.
almost gonna have now. And I'm like trying to sip my coffee and I'm trying to be cool, you know what I'm saying? And he goes, okay, so he says, now let's go back to that unseating event. That was the thing that happened with the, and he goes, what happened? And I said, Stuart, I got to be honest with you. I don't know right now. Now you've got me all flabbergasted and I'm examining like years of self-talk and why am I talking to myself like that? And what was that? And all of this stuff, right? And he says, so the unseating event, well, how did it get seated? And I was like, Stuart, man, you got to cut me some slack here because, like, right now you got me all over the place, right? And he goes, I
And
understand.
it's pretty deep for a morning,
Yeah.
early morning coffee.
And he's like, again, I get this, Ron, you've got to get this. Not like he's telling me I'm wrong,
No,
but it's
I
like
get
he's telling me this is like life or death. You have to understand this, right?
it.
And I'm like, okay, I got you. I said, so we're cool. And he goes, so think about how did it get seated? I said, well, I mean, I've done this 1,000 times before. I know what it is. You have to heat the metal to expand it. And he goes, okay, so what did you do? He just cuts me off. Like, what did you do? And I said, well, you have to put heat into the metal to get it to expand. And he goes, and what is that? Well, that's energy. And he goes, right, it's energy. And then the lights came on and the kids came home. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So even though I've said a gazillion times me before about this guy, pretty much the words that I told you, there was no heat. I couldn't unseat that.
Oh,
I couldn't unseat it. Not with the words. It took this energy coherence event to happen. And now understand what I'm saying by energy coherence. So here I am, I'm sitting here and I'm for these last however many years, clearing, meditating, working through all this, right? But what's happened now is I kept trying to think of an analogy here. It's kind of like you take the soda bottle and you shake it up and you shake it up and you shake it up, right?
yeah.
You know the pressure's building inside, but you don't know until you pop the cap off and all the fizz comes out,
Yeah.
right? So by doing all of the previous work and training myself to understand the somatic process and what's happening in my body and I need to stop and breathe, or this is an energy clearing event. This is for me. This is for somebody else. This is for the earth. This is, whatever. So under training myself to do that, I've been shaking the soda bottle and then it all uncapped in that 1 second.
Yes.
Sitting there and I'm just like, oh, wow. And he said, so if you think about the vision, you, when you were a kid, and I cannot, it was so crazy. As he's saying these things, it's almost like he's turning on a movie projector. He says, so when you were a kid, where did the fear reside? So when I was a kid, it was all in my stomach.
Oh,
I would literally walk around with an aching stomach
oh.
in fear. I didn't know what happened. Like I used to love to go to school because I had 6 or 8 hours or whatever it was away from home.
Right.
I didn't have to worry about getting hit. I didn't have to worry about somebody else getting hit. I didn't have to worry about the verbal blows, the emotional blows. And so, but when I go to school, the fear would override everything else. So while I was at school, I couldn't learn
Oh, sure.
fear, right? But as he's reminding me, that's literally playing and I can feel it all. I can feel my stomach. I remember everything. Like it's all right there.
Yeah.
But it only lasts for just long enough, I guess, to make the point. I don't know how long it
Yeah.
was, but it
Right.
was long enough to make the point,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
He goes, that's the heat that set that authority. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he goes, so now as you go through and you've forgiven and you've cleared and you've confronted and you've revealed and all the things that we do, you've been shaking the soda bottle, creating the same heat to extract
Yes. And
that.
that's the unseating. That visualization you had. Yes. Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh. And he says, that's why even though you've spoken the words, you didn't have the energy coherence to match to remove that. And it just made so much sense. And I'm sitting and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, how did you attain, and maybe I missed this part, you said this, how did you attain the energy coherence to let the bottle like,
That's what I'm saying. So through all of the various work, right? Learning how
yes.
to breathe and
Okay,
clear
so
it.
you got to that point where it was time. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
But what
got it.
what he
Yeah.
was telling me was, yes, when I'm
Yes.
breathing, clearing energy, and it is
It's
doing
that
that.
it's a process over time, and then there's enough of what you've done to release that, like the shaking, 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 right?
Right. And you know what? I didn't bring you back to this point because he connected this. He said, so when you're doing all of that work, right? When I was sitting on the side of the road and I was breathing and I could feel parts of the energy just leaving, but then there was the other parts that had the hooks in it. right?
Mhm.
That's what he was explaining. He says, so when you do all of the breath work and the forgiving and the confronting and, integrating the shadow and all of this stuff, that's that part leaving. So it's not that doing all that work isn't doing anything, but what we think is it's done everything, but it's not done everything.
Uh-huh.
Agitating and agitating, and the heat starts to build and the heat starts to build. And then when it cuts loose, I'm not saying it's going to be this way for everybody, or maybe I'm the only one. I doubt I'm the
No,
only
you're
one.
not. Mm-mm.
Um, but then when it gets to that place, you have the same level of energy that seeded that thing
Yes.
to now unseed it.
Yes. Yes.
That was the one thing when I had to when I heard that let it go. That's when I was talking to my body,
Yeah.
and I said, Ron, I literally said, Ron Bojo, let it go, right? But I mean, it was much more command voice than
Uh-huh.
that.
Uh-huh.
But what was weird is I could feel my whole body respond. Like I've never felt it before. Like I could just feel my whole body just stand to attention and say,
Oh
yes,
my
sir.
God, massive release.
And oh my gosh, massive. You would not believe.
Is this before January? Is it in December this happened?
Uh, this was, this was like December,
Uh-huh. It's in December.
an email about it, right? The
Yeah.
unseating event. So it
This
was,
is this is
2 days.
December. This is December preparing for the new cycle, the new 9 year cycle. This is a 1 year. Yeah.
So,
It's the shedding of the skin, which was the snake for 2025 and now we're into fiery horse.
oh yeah,
So
no,
you
I know.
shed the skin. Oh my God.
Well, it even goes farther than this, right? So, but this is me. So I want to be clear because I have a feeling this is a video, right? But
Well,
I
yeah.
want clear. This is me. This was my walk. This is my
Right.
path. I'm not telling anybody it's their path.
No, and it does can display differently in everyone.
But
The stuff
the
that,
principle
but it's,
stays the same, right?
yes,
It's the
yes,
principle of it. So might be more for somebody else, might be less for somebody else. I don't
right.
know. But as I'm sitting there, and so, Stuart and I are having this, and I got to this point of overwhelm, and I said, okay, Stuart, so if I withdrew the spark and I buried that spark in there to protect it, that's a compression event all by itself.
Yeah, right.
And he said, you're correct. And he says, why do we, or what, I got to say this correctly. I said, so that's a compression event all by itself, right? I pulled the spark in, I buried it down deep to protect it, and I'm holding it. And um, I said, isn't that a compression event itself? Isn't that a seeding event itself? And he says, you are correct. And you did that to protect that spark, right?
Mhm.
And I said, okay, so I've been gone out of that house, since I was 18 years old. What's the, what, what? And he said, so you pulled in and buried that compression. And he says, right now, what are you feeling? And I said, well, I'm feeling expansion, right? But why, why is it taken so long to get there? And he said, no, he says, I want you to stay with the expansion. He says, why do you think we keep telling you it's not about ascension? It's about expansion.
Expansion.
Well, now understand, because I'm not saying ascension is invalid, and
No,
I'm
no, no,
not
no. I
saying,
get it.
so I'm sitting there, and in my mind's eye, I'm seeing one of those little toys like we used to do when we were kids, and you'd cut out the doll figure.
Mhm.
It's in a piece of paper that's been folded up like 25,000 times, and you pull it apart and you make
Oh
the chain.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so that's the picture that's in my mind, right? And I'm watching this expansion happen. And I'm like, oh. okay, I get it,
Mhm.
right? And so he's really bringing home, and he's given me now like three different corrections in the way I've been moving so far.
Mhm.
But I guess I wasn't ready to hear him until now,
Mhm.
or I don't know if it was that. It's not like it was a correction, like, oh, you got it wrong,
Mhm.
but more like, okay, you've expanded to the point now we can bring clarity to this point, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so let's do what we got to do. And he says, so in the unfolding, in the expansion, he says, here you can't bypass anything. And I said, Stu, I'm not understanding what that means. And he says, think about the steps that you've gone through this far to get here. You have brutally confronted, and that was the word he used, brutally confronted. And he listed off, dealing with the abuse, dealing with this boss, dealing with, whatever, blah, 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 blah. Um, and he says, what is that? This was responsibility, authority, character, integrity. I could attach 1,000 words to it because the English language is poverty and motion. And he said, right, but the point is you can't expand because if you don't confront those things, it halts the expansion. But you can ascend and never confront. And I was like, really?
Yeah. But
Come on, really? Like, wouldn't, and he goes, no, think about it. He says, you only understand the spiral
okay.
recently because of this expansion that you're going through. You didn't even understand recursion 5 years ago. And I'm going, well, that's true, right? And he said, so everything in your life, I don't want to, I got to make sure I keep this in order. So he says, everything in your life is on a linear path. Everything you think is on a linear path. Everything that you do is on a linear path. You never think up.
Right.
And then now our whole conversation shifts.
Oh, that's a really good point.
This is how you're programmed. And I was like, say again? What? And he goes, Ron, this is how you're programmed. From the moment you hit the deck, what do? You're told you got to fit into the family to be acceptable. You got to do this. You got to go to school. You got to go to college. You got to get a good job. You got to blah, 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 blah. And it all follows this linear
It does.
progression, right? This linear expansion. And again, lights come on, kids come home. I'm like, oh my gosh. So wait a minute. If you're on the linear expansion and you run into that person that says you're a derelict, you're never going to be anybody, you're not going to do anything, you don't go up, right? You hit there and you stop.
Mhm.
Or you get mad, you play the contrast game, whatever, but whatever, you're staying on that linear path, right? So what he's telling me now is the reason we're telling you expansion is what's going on right now because ascension will happen naturally.
Naturally. Ah.
The goal isn't ascension. The goal is expansion to get to the ascension.
Okay.
But if you just go to the ascension part, you don't even understand what that is and you can't comprehend it. And he was very clear about this. You don't know what it is. You can't comprehend it, but you can pretend it real well. And I was like, Stuart, man, that's heavy, brother.
It
What are
is.
we talking about? And he goes, Ron, you felt it when you get around somebody they're talking about just good vibes, and we can't talk about anything negative, and we can't talk about anything that's down, and we can't, blah 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 blah. And he says, you felt it, and you know it's wrong. That's what's resonating in you. And I'm going, oh, and he says, it's not that those things are bad in and of themselves, but when they're the only focus,
Oh,
you're bypassing. And I said, oh,
yeah.
wait. And I'm telling you, Carolyn, like 1,000 points of light connected all at once in my head. And I was going, oh my gosh. But on the linear path, what are you taught?
Right.
Right? On the linear path. You don't want to have to feel the pain. You don't want to have to re-experience
No,
what
you
you
just
went.
go past it and
You just,
you get over it.
yeah, exactly. You get over it. You bypass it. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, my brain is just, and I'm like, holy, and the thing is, I get this, but I've never been able to contextualize it like I'm hearing
Oh
it
yeah. Right.
right? And I'm like, holy cow. And the thing that Stuart said was because there is a natural element of an ascension that goes with it, because in the recursion,
Hmm. That makes sense.
but the goal is you're going to complete a cycle, not to repeat a cycle, but to quote, go to the next level, right? So you get the spiraling pattern up, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm like, holy cow. And he goes, so if you think about it, it's like in your job, each new job you got, it was the same job. You just had something else different to do.
Right.
Recursion, recursion. And what's happened is we have turned that instead of saying this is ascension, instead of saying this is, we've turned it into the Peter principle, we've turned it into mentoring, we've turned it into working through experience, paying your dues or whatever, and we've put it back down on the linear line,
Oh. Oh.
right? And he takes
Yeah.
and he says, this is how you're programmed. And I just sat there and I sipped my coffee for probably 10 minutes. And I found that I'm going, Stuart, I can't even find the bottom anymore of where is the programming. That's all we are.
Right. Oh,
Pro-
totally. Yes.
And he said, right. That's
I
why
just got chills on that too.
he's like, that's why you don't want to bypass. You have to own it. And he took me back to what I said in the car. And I didn't even, to be honest with you, I didn't even realize what I said because I say it so frequently now. I don't even, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Mhm.
this is the antidote to that. Just take this pill. You know, that kind of thing. Like, oh, you got a headache? Take an aspirin.
Mhm.
And he said, that's why when you said, I return you to the ether to go back into the potential, he said, you didn't judge it. You didn't fight it.
Mhm.
You didn't leave it. You didn't give it to somebody else, i.e., project it. You put it back to where it was neutral. And I was like, holy cow, wait a minute. This is like every, when you're in and you being HR, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you did those classes on how do you resolve conflict and this is it right here. But we're never taught this part. Don't judge it. Don't put it on somebody. Just own it and then let it go back to potential,
Oh,
right?
that's so good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right. Well, we kind of ended that day and I was like, Stuart, I've got to process this, right?
Mhm.
I've got to process this. And of course, I'm having conversations every night in the bathtub. But again, we come down in the morning, we're having our sit. Stuart's asking me, well, he starts out really nice and cordial. He's like, "How you doing today?" And I said, "Well, buddy, how bad is my body supposed to hurt for how long?"
Yes.
And he says, "Well, you have to understand." Now, he didn't say that. When he said it this time, it wasn't like this is life or death.
Mhm.
It was more like you just got to understand, just think about what happened.
Oh, totally.
He's showing me the little folded up paper thing again, right?
Think of the energy that came out of you. Oh my God.
Exactly. Exactly. But what he said was for you, so what you're naturally supposed to do as you grow and develop, you're supposed to expand out.
Hmm.
But what happens is the programming compresses. So what's happening is it's still trying to expand. The energy's still going in, but it's not going out. This is where, and it's playing off in my head, right? This is where
Oh,
we
you, hold on.
pathology all over.
Your pure potential actually is getting squeezed as we get older into the system. It's getting squeezed in and compressed in instead of expanding out like we're
Yep.
supposed to be able to do. I just got chills.
And the thing is, so think about what you just said now. I'm starting to sound like Stuart. Think about what you just said now. You're there's the part that's pushing in, and then you're pushing out, right?
Yeah.
The part that's pushing in is you. You're the one saying, I got to play this game. I got to act
Yeah,
way. I
right.
my feelings at the door. I can't show this emotion.
We're
I
the
can't.
ones that accept the external conversation or commentary around what we were meant to be. And of course, it starts at such a young age that we don't
Yes,
even know we're doing it. It's just all
right.
subconscious.
But here's this is the point I'm bringing to, right? So Stuart's hammered me about words. You consented that. You consented to hold the expansion in the container,
Hmm.
which means my body is constantly cinching up.
Oh, yeah.
Hold this. And
Yeah.
the more the internal grows, the harder I'm squeezing in.
Yeah.
And
And then it's got to blow at some point.
well, what's funny is I was telling students, oh, this is like when you're stuck in traffic and you got to go to the bathroom. Okay, I got it. This is what this is. And it was just a humorous moment, and you could feel the humor coming from the
Yeah.
team. Like you could hear everybody laughing. And he goes, that's it exactly. He says, but then when it lets go, you would think the pain would stop.
Oh,
He
oh.
says, but the pain now is your muscles, your body, your fibers, your sinew, all of it has now let go. The tension that had it contracted for so long
Mhm.
is now released. It's like when your arm falls asleep and the blood rushes
Oh, it
back.
totally has had to recover into its natural state again. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's been
back.
artificially, yeah.
Yep. And he's like, so that's the pain that you're feeling right now isn't inflicted. It's your body releasing the tension
Mhm.
to get to where it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
And I was just, Lord, I'm just sitting there and I'm going, but then he takes me back and he goes, so you have to understand the power of your words. And so I've been on this kick, and this is where he provided a rather strong correction. Let me just put it like that. Not like somebody jumping down your throat, but Ron, up to this point, you're absolutely right. There's feeling, there's the clairs, right? You have all of that. He says, but in the beginning, God spoke. And I was like, do we really have to do the Bible right now? And he goes, not really, but I need you to get this.
Excuse me.
Frequency of your words create from the ether,
Frequency of your words create the ether. Is that what you just said?
create from the
From the
ether.
ether. Okay.
So when I names something,
Mhm.
collapses the ether into form.
Okay.
That's why he's saying you have to be absolutely clear with your words.
This is
Right.
the,
Well, it's not watch your words like watch out what you say, but he's taken me back to that attribution where I had said, um, this guy
yeah.
buried this thing in me. No, that's not what happened. But if I keep speaking that, I re-empower that tulpa.
Exactly.
And I'm
You
like, oh,
give more energy to that energy.
exactly right. You give more energy to, or you relinquish more energy to it.
Mhm.
So I just started thinking about it. I'm going, holy cow. So wait a minute. So I've been on this kick, the poverty of language, which he said was correct because to be able to convey a feeling, I have to do it through feeling. So in other words, him and I had talked this other day, and I was using really intimate language, right? And I said, it's like when you're with your lover, and you're laying in bed and you're just side by side, and there's that moment where you're just in the bubble. That's the only way I know how to say it. Like it's
Yeah.
just you and that person, and there's no action, there's no, you know what I mean? You're just laying there. And he's taken me back to that conversation. And he's like, that, having that understanding, right, and then coupling it to your words is so important because you're talking about yourself. And I said, okay, cool. And he says, no, he says, now I'm gonna share something with you. You're ready to hear this. And I was like, okay. And he goes, let's talk about your twin flame. I was like, my what? Now I know what a
Mhm.
tin flame, I know what a twin flame is, but it was such a sharp
Oh,
departure
yeah.
from what we're talking about. And I was like, Stuart, what are you doing? I was Ron, I just need you to think. He says, you're here. I can say this to you now and you can understand it. And I said, okay. I said, my twin flame. And I've thought about this and I'm like, is it, like, is there a twin flame out there? And I understand that it's when one single soul has so much love that it's broken apart and you can go, or at least that's my understanding of it, and go and they can experience different things and they find each other and then they fight and come together, whatever,
Or not.
or not. Um, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking of all that, and I said, well, Stuart, this is what I understand. And, here I am, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, right. And he goes, so do you have a twin flame? And I said, well, to be honest with you, I thought I did. But over the years, I've even started to question that. And he goes, why? Now you got to understand that we just come out of this intimate conversation and now we're into this. So my brain's thinking down that road of like
Mhm.
intimacy. And I'm just like, ah, da, 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 da. And Stuart says, okay. He says, just take a breath. I said, okay. He said, your twin flame is you.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what?
I was waiting
And
for you to say that.
he said, it's you. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, it's you. And if you want to call it the higher self, if you want to call it your consciousness, if you want to call it, and as he's saying those things, right, my mind goes to the prodigal son story. And I went, oh my gosh, the prodigal son. Wait a minute. It's not about three people. It's about you. You're the prodigal. You're the son that stayed home, and you're the father. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, right? And it's like it's coming so fast and furious into my brain. I'm like, wait, so I'm the kid that left, took my inheritance and left and went out there. And what did I do? So experientially speaking, what did I do? I went out and partook in the worlds in the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out what the matrix was. Then there's the son that stayed home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the talking voice in your head that's telling you how stupid you are. That's the programming of the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, and then there's the father, your own soul just waiting for you to come home.
Oh God, that just
And
that's good.
I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I've always said the Bible is all metaphor stuff. It's a metaphor.
Oh, not the Bible, because I'm sitting there thinking, I've read whole books on this twin flame
oh
theory.
that yeah. Oh that's yeah.
And, and, when you first say it, because nobody's looking internal. Everybody, you've been programmed to look external for
Yeah, and
everything.
then they've romanticized it, which turns it into a whole other thing. And what I've
Exactly.
always said about the twin flame situation is the reason that people have the experience of that great, like, oh my God, that person is because
Yeah.
it's supposed to activate you into the learning to go back into yourself.
Yes. Yes. So I'm sitting here and I'm going, how can I even share that with somebody? That's so antithetical to how the world has programmed it.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to, like, how do I share that, right? So anyway, we can leave it there.
Okay, there we go today. I hope you have taken at least one little nugget away for your own journey so that you can continue to put the puzzle together of this journey for yourself. As I always say, we have puzzle pieces all over the place that we pick up. Hopefully, you picked up something here today as well that resonates with this spiritual awakening journey that we are all on, whether we have taken the red pill or the blue pill, and know it or not. We're all on this journey together as a collective. So, again, becoming more consciously aware of what is happening, how it is happening, and listening to other people's stories can be a really powerful impact to your own journey. So, with that, today I'm going to leave you with my website, purplerainhealing.com, and you can see all of my services there, whether it be working with you on your spiritual awakening journey, where I channel information for you, but also guide you through the process of your changes and shifts that you're going through, channeled messages, distance energy healing, soul journeys. So feel free to reach out to me through my website, purplerainhealing.com. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your January, leaning into taking care of yourself as we move into these very important times. And I will see you in the next video.